What I can remember from the day we went live is that because we had put in so much effort into the preparation of our go live date, most of what we envisioned came to life.
I would always consider our launch as a miracle launch, in that we had less than 3 months to launch in an environment where our competitors had many years of preparations to do, months rather, not years, to prepare for their launch. In our case, it was just 2 months.
One of the big achievements we've had as a channel was that when we launched, we were thrown into the deep end of covering the national elections. And I think our coverage of the national elections just a week after launching was a great feat for us.
We did it, and we told South Africans the story of the elections of 2019, which were really important in the history of our country, and we did it. And the reality is that there was a lot happening in this building at the time. There was really so much going on, while we wanted to ensure that we were launching in a really strong and profound way, but also doing our journalism justice, and I think we managed to do all of that.
Now, with that said, anyone who knows how the broadcasting industry works, particularly live television, will know that everything doesn't necessarily go according to plan, but on the day we ultimately got it right.
South Africa, we proudly declare Newzroom Afrika on channel 405 live.
What a historic day. South Africa launches a very new news offering.
The significance of the 2nd of May 2019 is based on the fact that it was when everyone finally saw our product, which is our channel, come to life.
Right after that, we had to do the inauguration. And right after that, we had to do the speeches. Right after that, we had to do the SONA, the budget speeches. And we had to do a lot of other big issues.
The President's visit and interview on launch day is another reminder of why we made history. Now, in a first-of-its-kind roundtable discussion, President CYRIL Ramaphosa was interviewed by our lead anchors, Kathy Mutlahlana and JJ Tabane.
People are impatient. People want to see quick action. And as I said, we do need to go through the various processes so that we are sure that we don't make mistakes.
We also have very good high-profile guests that came through for the chat with sessions that we had throughout the year. We've gotten high-profile people to say things here that they would not ordinarily have said, and that's attributable to the skills of our anchors, which we're proud of.
If you read the EFF manifesto, we outline it very well there, that there are going to be land tribunals where a matter is not dealt with to the satisfaction of any individual. You know, in South Africa, a land court has got one judge, yet land is the big issue. That's why issues are not being resolved.
We couldn't have hoped for better guests like Chief Justice Hueng.
Even if a person accused of criminal conduct has the best lawyer in the country, you have an equally qualified person on the other side.
We told stories of people on the ground. Memajoro is a story that will always stay with me personally, but I also think it'll stay with our audience, because we tracked a story of a woman with no home, and we were eventually able to follow her through her life journey as she got her own home, for the first time, by the way. And that tells a very important story of a woman and her personal journey, but also where we are in South Africa, particularly when it comes to issues of housing, issues of poverty, and the difference that we have in our country between the haves and the have-nots. And of course, who can forget the story of COVID-19 in the year 2020?
COVID-19 has taken over our world.
Breaking news that the very first case of COVID-19 has been reported in South Africa.
This is going to define South Africa in so many ways. And in fact, I think it's going to define our journalism and the way that we tell stories going forward.
So if I would count anything as being a milestone for us, it has been our ability to cover the big events.
From day one, we've been telling stories very differently. You know, we've always been, and we've never compromised to tell the story about the who before the what.
A scrap collector had been passing by this area and heard the muffled cries of a child. He then dug into this area and found a baby boy wrapped in a denim dress and left in a plastic bag.
What we've managed to do on the channel, which we're proud of, is that we've managed to put the person first before the actual story. We use a normal narrative of telling people's stories, and the facts come as a byproduct of that. And I think that has worked quite well for us.
Live storytelling, rolling live coverage and the serialization of news is a very important strategy for us at Newzroom Afrika, because it gives our audience an opportunity to go on the journey with the reporter and almost become a reporter with them, because the story is unfolding hour by hour through their eyes. And that, I think, has really given us a bit of an edge, because we're able to tell it from a slightly different angle and keep constantly on a particular story.
We always drill this down to our teams, that the Our News, Our Views slogan means that we and the people are one. So the stories that we get from the people should be attributed to the people, and we try and do that as much as possible.
So news is about being passionate about what we do. It's about being different to the next reporter next door. It's about telling a story. It's about waking up and saying, we're storytellers. So that's what we tell our reporters on a daily basis. Have passion all the time.
Having been able to broadcast across the continent just 2 months after we launched, further entrenched our position as a television news platform to be reckoned with. It also came with the opportunity to showcase that as much as we are a proudly South African news channel, we are an African platform.
Today we're very, very proud that we have significantly increased our market share. And it's not just a share random or a thumbs up of how you do your stories. It's being relevant all the time.
We have a show here, a nightly show that is entirely dedicated to what people have to say, which is called Your View. And we try and fit that into as many other programs that we have as possible, hearing back from the viewer instead of just speaking at them.
The feedback from audiences was really good and helped us to get a realistic picture of their views, hence our tagline, Our News, Our Views.
The Newzroom Afrika evolving is not just in a vacuum. It is evolving in circumstances where there's a lot of challenge. You know, in the digital space, how stories are told in the digital space compared to how stories are told in what we call the traditional media, the space that you're operating in. So you always have to like to compete and tell a story online and tell the same story differently, you know, on our channel. So that again brings its own challenges.
Now, what it takes to run a business like this is a solid business strategy, discipline, hard work, and definitely resilience.
We operate in an industry where it's not about the money that we get. If you don't have passion, if you don't have the DNA that goes with telling a story, you're in the wrong business.
These are the people that we pass on the street, pushing these large sacks, carrying recyclable material. And that's what most of the people that live here do for a living. And now that it's locked down, they aren't able to go out and to pick up these recyclable materials and to be able to provide their families.
If I were to sum up the year for Newzroom Afrika, I would say 1, building a rock-solid foundation. 2, a lot of learning.
A third one would be hopeful. I think we are hopeful as a channel, and it's a promise that we made even in the beginning, that community development or community building was at the center of why we do what we do. We don't tell news for the sake of it. We want to make sure that there's a so what to it. What is it that matters to you and why it matters to you and what you can do about it, and be able to give you more than just the news. We also give you the why of the news. And I think that has been a great thing that I think has attracted people to view our channel.
My hope for Newzroom Afrika is that the channel will continue to have enormous impact. It will continue to tell stories that are meaningful, continue to tell stories that are relevant in our society, both in South Africa and on our continent. And I'm just hoping that we will grow from strength to strength with the amazing team of reporters and anchors and everybody who our audience doesn't see and who's working so hard and tirelessly behind the scenes.
My message to all our viewers is a simple one. Thank you for all the support you've shown us thus far.
The fact that you're watching this right now means that you are tuned into channel 405 on DSTV when you could have been anywhere else, but you chose us. There's a reason for that, and we're proud to have brought you news that makes you keep coming back.
Without your commitment to tuning into channel 405, there would be nothing to showcase.
We hope to keep you tuned in by giving you the best possible news coverage that you can get. We promise to push to be better with each passing day. The longer you stay with us, the better we get. The more viewers we have, the better we become.
I hope you'll continue to journey with us as we make history.
Stay tuned to Newzroom Afrika, channel 405, Our News, Our Views.